Welcome, everybody. Welcome to tonight. We are having a very special Beacon of Light podcast where it's going to be a conference for every Monday through the month of February. So during this month of February, we've got our February 1st, 8th, 15th, and 23rd. Is that right? 22nd? Help me out with the math out there. But we're going to be every Monday night for an hour chatting about a very important topic because many of you have already logged on, have purchased tickets. I've got that list here. Thank you for all of those who registered and got their tickets and got free things today. I've been busy mailing off all that free stuff to y'all. So we've got right here on the chat, you can see Darla Evon. She has an incredible offer for you tonight. A free Kindle of her book, and we're going to be discussing different pieces of it today because this conference is about healing and healing the very most important relationship of all, which is with yourself. Because if you aren't healed, how on earth can you help other people? You're just really stuck, and we don't want anyone to be stuck. We want people to heal and move forward and progress. So without anything else, I want to just jump in to, again, this Beacon of Light Healing Conference. And as we heal, I think so many of you will see tonight the power that'll come. So take notes. Again, get this free offer that Miss Darla has put there for you. I mean, wonderful. How gracious is that? Okay, Darla, tell us all about yourself. Introduce us a little bit so we can get to know you while we have this fantastic discussion about healing.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm actually honored. And you know, my greatest value in life is connecting with other people, with their hearts, with their souls. And my intention is to be a beacon of light where there's darkness in our world. And so I am an author, I am a life mastery consultant and coach, and I'm an international speaker. And I'm here tonight to just share my message. And I really believe in a world where we live in harmony with our heart. And I really believe in creating a movement of healing. And with that, I'll share just a little bit of my story. I come from a past, and just a snippet of it. I come from a past of some child abuse as well as domestic violence. And that's kind of how I got into what I'm doing. I started out my career or my adult life as a dental hygienist, and I lost my career in dentistry due to a broken neck in a car accident in 2007. And during that pivotal moment in my life, I got a message from my higher power, and God said to me, you are supposed to share your message with the world. And I didn't know what that looked like in that moment, but I kept hearing that message as I was healing and learning to walk and whatnot in my life. And what came from that is I wrote a book, and that is the start of my message and my movement. And my book is called Broken to Beautiful. And like dear April said, you can get it on Amazon, and it is free tonight on the Kindle version. And I just wrote that book from a space of, I want to shine my light, right? And I want to offer hope and tools and impact other people's lives in a positive way. Like, we all have adversity, right? Who doesn't? We're in Corona. We're in this crazy election year. All this stuff has happened. And I believe that it's what we do with this adversity and how we respond that affects our results and ultimately the rest of our life. So going back a little bit to my childhood, it wasn't real pretty at times, and it was a messy childhood. And I hid behind a lot of masks because I had shame and fear of telling anyone. And so I hid in this dark place for a really long time. And so when I started writing my book, I was like, what can I do to shine a light? So my first chapter is on shining your light. And shining your light for me is just putting love all around. Like, we need that. I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't go through what I went through. Now, I wouldn't wish my life on anyone. Don't get me wrong, because I made some horrible mistakes. I learned a lot of lessons in my life, and I have so much gratitude for everything I've learned, right? And so going back to my childhood, I wrote about shining a light when my world was so dark as a kid. And I write about having a positive mental attitude and the power of being positive in your life and how transformational that can be and get us unstuck when we're in this victimhood state where we want to hold on to that story like, ooh, this happened to me and I'm lesser than, or feel sorry for me. No, let that story go.
How do we do that? How do we do that?
Share that. So I really dove into a lot of personal development work, and I trained with some mentors, Wayne Dyer, Bob Proctor, Mary Morrissey, some big people like that. And I also got my master's in neurolinguistic programming. And what that is the mind-body connection. And it's like rebooting your computer. So when you reboot your computer, it operates differently and better and faster, right? And we can do that with our minds and our beingness. And so we call it reframing. And so how do we get out of victimhood into victor or survivorship to thriving, or from a place of surviving to thriving? And we do that by rebooting, like reframing our situation. Like, look for the lessons that you learned. Like, oh, I learned X, Y, and Z. And so now that I know that, I can do better. And when we address ourselves from that place and get to the root of the problem and have self-responsibility too, like, what part did I play in this? Did I play a role in my childhood abuse? No, I was an innocent child. Did I play a role when I married an abusive man? Sure. I married him. I chose in. And so after I had that experience, now that I know better, I do better.
Okay, say that again.
So when I went to my marriage, and I was married to a domestic violence partner, it was a horrible, worst 3 years of my life. And when you know better, you do better. That's the lesson I learned.
Okay, so you're telling me that once we learn something, we don't have to be stuck and do it again and again and again because we had that terrible experience. We've got who I call the shame shadow, which is that whole concept, right? That shame right there saying, oh, no, you did this. I don't know if you could ever be happy again. I don't know. Maybe you're not worth it, right? All that negativity that just keeps churning and churning and churning. You are saying that, no, I learned. And so now I don't have to be a victim to that again. I can actually choose something different. Did you hear that, ladies? It's a choice.
It is a choice. And that's what I love coaching on when I coach my clients. It's like, oh my God, everything in life is a choice. And when we get that clarity is a muscle that we get to practice, and it gives us power. We get our power back when we choose to do different, right? Another thing I want to talk about is forgiveness too. Like, oh my gosh, forgiveness was transformational in my life in setting me free from my victim story, whether it was the domestic violence husband or my fatherhood. Forgive them, Father, for they do not know. I learned from my mentor that you can separate the being from the behavior. I don't have to condemn. I don't have to hate. I don't have to be angry. I don't have to cast out. I get to let go, though. And you know what? That gives me the opportunity to live at this higher vibration frequency and to make myself available to create something new to come into my life. It's the law of sacrifice. You let go of the lesser in order to allow the greater good to come into your life.
Wow, very, very true. That only happens if we trust and practice it. But we have to trust it. We have to practice it. And I hope that everyone knows that this is a practice. It's why it's called a journey. It's not called a checklist. It's not called a pass or fail. It's a journey. It's a try. It's a fall down. It's a get back up. It's a get muddy and bloody and come back up and do it again, because we need to. We've practiced, unfortunately, we've practiced that negativity and that victimhood for maybe too long. And so letting that go and practicing something new is a new skill. It's a new opportunity. And yeah, we're going to fall. Yeah, it might not work out perfectly. And so don't tell me that you're going to go back to that mess.
Yeah.
Stay here and keep improving again and again, and just see what happens. Because we know if we go back, what's going to happen. We've been there, done that, t-shirts and all of that, right?
Yeah.
Let's try this way.
Right. I think
Right.
cultivating the garden in your life, like you get rid of the weeds, what doesn't work, and you allow the good to grow, to come up, right? And what comes up next is thriving. And I love that. Surviving, when we're in survival mode, we don't have community. We're in this low vibration and we're carrying this bag of rocks that's so heavy and weighs us down because we think, it's that martyr. And when we set that down and it frees us and we can go into the thriver part of our life, that is where community is. That is where healing is. And we get to give back and we get to shine the light and we get to help other people maybe that have gone down this path. And for that, I'm forever grateful. Not that I would want to go through any of that again, but I know I've addressed the root causes of my stuff. And now I get to have this beautiful garden. And yeah, it took a lot of, I want to call it poop, the fertilizer, the stinky stuff in life. It takes that sometimes for us to grow into the beings God wants us to be. What's possible. And so when you let go of that lesser, you allow the greater. And like April just said, it is a process. And we want to think, I thought I forgave like when I was 24 years old. And now in my 50s, I'm like, sometimes I have to do it again and again and again and again. It's like peeling back the layer of the onion, right? And you just got to work through it. And sometimes I will be triggered. Someone will say something, or a feeling or a smell or something will trigger me. And I'm like, oh, it's not a good thing. And it's another process. You just walk through it and you forgive over and over and over. And as long as we're breathing beings on this journey, we're all going to have forgiveness work to do, no matter our story. And so I just want to invite people to let go of that heavy baggage and set it down once and for all and step into the you were meant to be. And yeah, it did suck. And maybe you can use it to be a beacon of light for someone else. And just, I think too, I write about this in my books, just trusting that intuition and leaning on faith and and working on yourself. And I think April has this on the thing. It's about loving yourself. Before you can love another again, love yourself. Like have the relationship with you before you can step into another relationship again. And I had to learn that the hard way. I went from relationship to relationship thinking that would fix me or my past pain. And it didn't. Until I got good with me, I was able to heal then. So.
I love that. Thank you for really pointing that part out, because there's many times as I've members in groups of different Facebook groups that work through a lot of domestic violence, there are posts that you will see that will say things like, how long do I have to be alone? I left over 2 years ago. I'm still alone. And they're still waiting for the knight in shining armor. They're still waiting for something else to complete them. And it's just fantasy, because when we believe and understand that we are beautiful, that we are daughters of God, we feel and actually amplify that light out, which in turn will attract the right and better person. Yeah. And that's the secret, but it's tough. It's a process. Who wants to work on my own trash? That's why they invented closet doors, and I'll just shut that. Thank you. Right?
Yeah, right.
And, I know we all have that closet or garage. Yeah, we all have that. And every day we pass it and we're like, tomorrow, next week, next month, later. Eventually it just gets so much, that poor door is like bulging at the bottom and at the top, and it's just held by that one little latch.
Yeah.
If we are brave enough, open it up, take it out, sort it, put stuff to trash, keep some of the other things, process, work through, write it out,
Journal.
paint it out, journal it out.
I have to share this. This is my little.
What is that?
This is a trigger device. I call it a chuck it bucket. And so you just inspired me to share this because, yeah, what doesn't serve us anymore? All that stuff in the closet that she was talking about bulging out, like let go of the blame, put it in the bucket. So what doesn't serve us, chuck it in the bucket. And I love to give these to my audiences when I speak, like, because they can go home and it's like the delete button on your computer. You have the trash can, right? Trash it, get rid of it, and it goes away, and you don't have to keep revisiting it. Let go of the blame, lay down the track for who you want to be, let all that stuff go, and the proverbial trash can will handle itself. And you don't have to keep revisiting it over and over. That's exhausting, and it keeps you stuck in your life. And God put you here for so much more than that. We are so much more powerful than any circumstance or condition. And so many people love to stay stuck in that. And that's where a lot of pain is. Why would you want to stay in the muck?
Right. Why? Yeah. Why would you want to stay there? And sometimes the kickback is, well, you just don't know. And it's not a showcase of, sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but some are like, oh yeah, well, my abuse was worse than yours. Oh yeah. And you're like, are we really fighting about this right now? This is hilarious.
Right.
So it's just kind of, hang on, y'all.
This is the truth.
Right.
And this is all part of the unforgiveness or the forgiveness part. When someone said to me once, unforgiveness is like setting yourself on fire and expecting the other person to die of the smoke inhalation. Like, it's not going to happen. So stop setting yourself on fire. Forgive. It's hard to forget. And I know, speaking for me, I don't know. I just had a brain fart. Sorry. Unforgiveness for me. Yeah. It's like setting yourself on fire and expecting the other person to die of smoke inhalation. And yeah, just forgive. It's just, that's the bottom line.
Right.
Forgiveness.
Right. And this forgiveness, what's interesting about it, so I think we need to clarify this part of forgiveness. The forgiving part is that the actions are not erased, right? There's accountability and responsibility for the other person, and many times it also has to deal with a court, right? Because many of those are crimes. So yes, those things will be paid for. The forgiveness is your resentment or hopefulness that they will finally feel as bad as you. That's the part.
And having regret and payback. And I can tell you what I know for sure. Hurt people hurt people. So you're just continuing, or we're just continuing the cycle when we stay hurt, because then we will continue the cycle. And I say, stop that, break the lineage, cut it here. I had generational abuse. Like, I think mine went back 3 and 4 generations, and no one said enough is enough. No one did forgiveness work. No one talked about it. It was the elephant in the room, and it just took over each generation. And I said, enough's enough. I'm not going to have this conversation with my children or my grandchildren. And now we get to focus on generational healing. How about that?
Yeah.
Generational healing.
Wouldn't that just change the entire world? If we think about that, you have a choice. Yes, generationally, these things happen.
Yeah.
You don't have to be another one to pass that baton on.
Right.
You actually can throw it away, put it in the chuck it bucket, and make the changes. And we think about children and changing and making that so that their lives generationally can heal, do better, improve, and then their kids can heal, do better, improve. And wow, we have within a generation, like, societal change.
Right.
That is possible.
And
We have to start.
I want to just say, and I don't want to go political here at all. However, with the state of our world right now and what's getting ready to come out to everyone, this time of awakening right now, this goes on all around the world, and it needs to be stopped. It needs to be stopped now. The domestic violence, the child abuse, the sex trafficking, all of it. Like, we all can play a role in that bigger picture. Like, I imagine a day when our world can heal, and all of this bad stuff that's about to be brought to the light. Like, oh my gosh, what a different world we could live in.
And it's a choice.
And it's
It
a
is a choice.
It
Yeah.
is a choice.
Excellent. So, Yvonne, in your book, hold it up there. Let's look at this. In your book, you said that this was where you first started writing this out. What was a place that in your writing you thought, no way, I'm not sharing that? And then you worked through it and shared it anyway.
Where I started writing was, first of all, I didn't go into a lot of detail of the graphics of my abuse, because I don't think that is necessary. What I did is took the lessons I've learned. And so for me, I remember it being a snowy January day, and I went to my basement when I lived in Colorado, and I pulled out some old journals, like from my teenage years, from my 20s, and I started going through them, and I saw common themes. I wrote a Bible verse, or I wrote a quote that I heard someone say on TV that resonated with me. And I started highlighting things that were speaking to me through the Holy Spirit, just like, that is life-changing. And so I started highlighting. And so things that were coming up over and over and over again in my journals were like, go shine your light, Darla. Focus on forgiveness. Take care of relationships. Trust your intuition. That's something I struggled with for a long time. Leaning on your faith and being positive. Like, turn your pain into your passion. Turn your pain into something positive. It doesn't have to continue to be your pain. And so for me, it was old journals. I just kept, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my book right here. So I took the journals and kind of compiled them, if you will, into my book. And so that's where my story came from.
Wow. So when people have read your book, what do they say about it when you get to hear those great things?
Oh gosh, it fills my heart. And it's not about me. It's like, you gave me permission to just be me, and you let me know that I'm enough, no matter what my journey was. And you shine light on a dark space. And then I've heard, oh, if you could survive that, like, I can survive this. Like, it gives people the power to be like real and authentic and vulnerable. Like, we all have stuff in life, and we hide behind these masks. And April, I had so many masks for so long, because I didn't want people to know my pain, and I didn't want to be judged. And this is a real life story of how you can go from crisis to clarity. And like April said, it's a choice. It's a choice. So at the end of each chapter, there's a couple little things you can do. Action steps you can do, like how you're treating yourself, talking about self-respect, eating healthy, like, are you having conversations you need to have, stuff like that. Like, and it lets you look deeper into your own life so that you can heal fully and go from crisis to clarity and not live in that victimhood anymore.
So in all of these transformational opportunities that you had, and now you bring it to other people through coaching, can you share maybe a coaching moment that happened with someone when they got it, when that aha kind of hit them?
Yeah, probably. This just happened recently, actually. I'm just thinking over the last week or so, but of course, anonymity, but they think they're not enough. And she's like, this was a female client, and she's like, I'm so stuck in my life, and I'm lost, and I've never been married, and I'm 40 years old, and I haven't, because of XYZ in my past, my childhood, and it goes way back, and I don't trust people, and I'm afraid to be vulnerable. And so her old stories are keeping her stuck to love, to a career that she would like, to a life that she would like. Her health is suffering because she's shoving all this crap down, and it's making dis-ease in her body because she has dis-ease in her soul. And so she had an aha moment. And it's so crazy, but so many clients, all I do, I just guide them. They have their own answers. And she's like, oh my gosh. And they know all along. They just need someone to help them peel back the layers. And then they're like, the light goes on. They're like, oh my gosh. And it's so fun for me because I can hear it in their voice, and their face lights up, and they're like, that's what brings them joy. That's what their purpose is in life. That's what they came here to do. That's what would light their soul on fire. And they don't do it because they hold on to all this old stuff. And then we get to work through that and let that go. And they step into a whole new world of possibilities. And so I love to say I'm the possibilitarian, because once you let the crap go, all the possibilities are open, and they were there all along. They just didn't see them because they didn't choose, because they chose to look here.
That's right.
We have this part of our brain, it's called the reticulating activating system. And what it is like, if you were to go buy a new car and I'm like, okay, I want this white Honda and that's my dream car, I'm going to go get it. And I've been watching it and no one else has it and I love it. And the day I buy it and I drive it off the lot, oh my gosh, I see one at every stoplight. I'm like, how did you get the same white Honda I had? I didn't think anyone else knew about this. It's because we only focus on what we focus on. Like, I didn't know about that before because I never looked at it. Now that I own my little white Honda, I notice everyone else that has one. And so where our attention goes, yeah, energy flows. And so all I see now is the white cars. And I love talking about like our awareness with my clients too. Like, what we think about causes our feelings, then our feelings cause us to act a certain way, right? And then our actions cause our results. And people hate it when I talk about that because they don't like that their life is a result of their own thinking. But it's absolutely true.
Because isn't it more fun to say, it was COVID's fault?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, there wasn't any toilet paper. It was COVID's fault.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, there wasn't enough hamburger. It was COVID's fault, right? Like,
right. It's so easy to put the blame on an outside circumstance when all along we are so powerful ourselves and we have all the resources.
Right. We do. I want to say, like Glinda from The Good Witch of the North, right?
Yeah.
That Dorothy had the power within her the whole time.
Absolutely.
She didn't need anything else. And when she reveals that,
yeah.
and Dorothy actually practices it, tries it, says the thing 3 times, she goes back to the very thing she wanted. She had the power within her the whole time. It's about the belief, the focus. What are we doing? What are we not doing? Where are we? How much do we want to be distracted and pulled away? Do we really like sitting in this darkness? Do we really like, and I say like, meaning we're used to it. Not like as, oh, this is the best thing ever, I'm enjoying this.
Right.
It's being used to it and being used to it for so long. Suddenly being thrown into something that's even healthy can be terrifying.
Yeah.
And this is kind of off point, but I'll come back to it. Just at Christmas time, we revisit a wonderful story where we have shepherds out in the field, and when the angels come to them, they are so afraid. Angels are amazing. This should not be a scary time, but it's new. It's out of the element. It's something like, whoa, what is going on here? And yet that is an amazing thing. So in our lives, when we have the opportunity to leave, to get out, to be a part of something new, the worst thing to do is, well, that's new. I'm not feeling too comfortable. I'll just head back
Go back
over
to
here because I'm used to that.
Yeah.
No,
comfort
trying to
zone.
create something new, right? I call it a comfort cage.
Yeah.
Because there's no progress there.
Keeps you
You just sit back in, close that cage door, made out of your own pain and lies, and sit right there. Oh, no, can't go out to the learning zone.
we have handcuffs when we sit in that cage, and we have the key right there in the lock. All we have to do is turn it and open it. Take our awareness somewhere else, and everything changes.
Yep. So true.
Shackle yourself. You are your worst. You're keeping yourself in bondage, to what was, because it's all you know.
Right.
Attention goes, energy flows. So I just say shift that attention. Like, what would you love? And keep doing that. Write it, journal it, put sticky notes up. Like, this is what I want. This is what I want to get. This is who and speak it in the present tense. And eventually it happens because you're focused on that and you're not focused on that muck anymore. And that releases that cage, the shackles.
That's right. It does. The dream. Okay. So is that any part of your coaching? Do you ever sit down with people and say, what are your dreams?
Absolutely. I call myself a dream builder coach because I love helping them create the vision, because so many times, like, think of yourself as a 3-year-old child. Oh my gosh, I want to be a ballerina or a fireman. And there are no stops. Like, the whole world is at our fingertips. And somewhere along the line, our programming or conditions cause us to stop dreaming. And what if we could dream again? So I always say, I have a magic wand, and I'm going to wave my magic wand. And what would your life be like? Imagine 3 years from now. It is 2024, February 1st, 2024. Where are you in your health, your relationships, your career, your finances? Where do you want to be? Like, so many times we don't even let our awareness think about that. And it's fun to dream again. And so I take people down a path, and I call it a time machine. And so we create this new vision, like, what if you could have this? And then we talk about, and they get excited and they dream again. And then we come up with like action steps. Like, what's one thing you can do today that would take you one step closer to that? And here's the deal. In 3 years is what I do my vision timeline on, but it's so much more possible to even do it like in 10 months. Like, it doesn't even have to take the 3 years. And I always say, what if this or something even more? Like, we limit ourselves, people. We do. And so dreaming, yeah.
Dreaming. And I think some of our friends and our family, the ones that are close to us, they kind of kibosh a lot of our dreams because they're scared. They're worried about the risk, right? And so they come up with a great, I wonder how I could maybe shift this idea from that person. I have a great vision for my Pinpoints of Light book. I have the screenplay, and we're approaching directors, producers, and we're getting this thing started. And I shared this information with my brother. Now, my brother is very, very practical and very no nonsense, and he's, he's logical and da-da-da-da. And he's like, well, heck, you don't have a movie now. What will it hurt? I guess go for it. That was not what I thought he was going to say. So it was even more fun. And of course, but what if this could be hurt? Don't let anyone. I'm aware of that. Well, why not dream? Because what if it happens?
Right.
I can tell you this, if I don't dream it, it'll never happen.
Absolutely.
I can guarantee that. So
I think so many people have, it's the fear. It's the fear of failure, fear of what are they going to say, fear of, I didn't tell my family I was writing a book because I didn't know if they would be supportive. And I guess that's fear, right?
Fear, definitely.
Right. And so now it's like, no, I'm going to write another book even after this one. And I'm going to speak on a stage of 5,000 to 10,000 one day. And I know it's going to happen. Has it happened yet? No. And guess what? What if I fail? I don't care. I failed at a lot of things in life. I probably have a PhD in failure. And that's one of my greatest lessons.
Right.
Bring it on.
because failures are really learns. They're learns. Their abilities to say, okay, well, when we mixed that together, that didn't quite work. It's not, oh, I'm never going to mix again. No, it's, well, let's try this and this. Now we have more experience, more knowledge. Maybe we'll do a little more research and we're going to try again.
Yeah.
But for sure, if we quit, that will guarantee that these things will happen. If you quit your healing journey, if you quit your possibilities of dreaming and letting things go. I listened to an interview, which is pretty timely right now. January 27th was the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. And there was one survivor's story that I watched. And that survivor talked about, in her mind, she could still escape to this place of dreaming. Now she's on a death march. Okay. She's like, it's not good. We're at the end. And there was a moment where they could sit, and she came into her mind about Christmas. This is January. So that's a long ways away, if it ever is going to happen.
Right.
And so she talked about like this Christmas time, thinking about a party. And what dress would she wear? The green or the red velvet? And she decided back and forth and just stayed there. By the evening, they had finished another 15 miles, and she had enough, what she called warmth inside her, to live again tomorrow. Because that entire time, she allowed herself to stay there and not look at all of the horror. She'd been in those horrors for years. And it's just interesting to me that when we can allow ourselves to dream, it's life-saving, literally.
The mind is amazing. Yeah, it is incredible. I had a client that she stopped dreaming. She had failed in a marriage, she said. So I failed. So I guess, so her conclusion was, I guess I'm not meant to be married ever. I just failed at love. And so she didn't date anymore. And she just lived like a hermit, never went out of her house, and just kind of gave up on life. And so it's fun to walk them through that dreaming again and what if and what's possible and let that go. Like, and I love to share this story too of we all fail in life. Like we all started out as babies crawling, right? We walk, we crawl and we see that toy or that cookie. And I'm like, oh my gosh, for me, it was the chocolate chip cookie. I'm going to get it. And I reach and I fall down. And what did I do? I got back up and I tried it again and I fell down again. And we all do that. And so what if as children, we just said, well, I guess I've fallen down 10 times. I'm just not meant to be a walker. And we give up. And that's not how it works. It's called resiliency. You get back up and you fall down, and it might take 100 times, and it doesn't matter. It's not failure. It's just feedback. And it teaches us what we need to learn, and you get up, and when you know better, you do better, and you go forward. That's how it works.
That's right. Linda, absolutely. Now that I know better, I do better. And Linda is an amazing coach as well. She helps so many that are stuck with struggles with sobriety, with all of the addictions. And her coaching reaches out to those that are really stuck at the bottom. But the bottom is a beautiful place to push up from, right?
I call it the green growing edge. It's like grass that comes through cement. Like, how does it get through there? When you don't think anything can grow through that. I had a son that went through addiction, and so I got to experience that firsthand, and bless his heart, he's been sober for several years now, but it was so heart-wrenching to watch that. But until he knew better, he couldn't do better. And it took him rock bottom, like he ended up in prison. And it's a sad, sad story, but it was the best story ever. Like, it changed his life. And so I have gratitude for that now.
Right.
He didn't fail. He learned a big lesson. And maybe, just maybe, he can go out and help other people now from his lessons he's learned. So failure is just feedback.
Right. Yeah. And it takes a mindset to recognize that. Yeah. Wake up each day. Because if there's one song I remember from my childhood, is that the sun will come out tomorrow, right? Every day you get a new opportunity. No matter how dark that night was, every morning the sun comes out. Whether it's clouded over or fog or storm, we still know it's day. And every day we have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Darla, this has been amazing. And many people here, Joanna, Sherry, Linda, wow, thank you guys for coming, for participating, for sharing and learning this healing. For those that might have missed, we will have a replay going on through the evening through tomorrow. And I hope that you take this time and check out Darla's work, maybe contact her. We've got her, yes, look at that beautiful book, The Broken to Beautiful. We've got her website running down there underneath. And of course, we've got a free, let's come up here. Yes, look at that. This big free book for everybody who has been participating this evening. Amazing. She offered that to everybody. So go ahead and get that tonight. And, make sure that you leave a review for her, because that just helps with more and more of her opportunities to share this message even more. Again, healing you, the relationship that is most important in order for life to really find joy and peace. So we hope you have enjoyed this healing tonight and taken some notes and felt, I can make that change. It is a choice, because I believe in you and you are worth it. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.